And I do believe that we have rotten politics, and I'm not using that as an exaggeration.
Hey everyone and welcome. In this video we're going to be having a look at some of the most inflammatory and irresponsible words out of a SNP MSP. This is the most irresponsible thing I have ever heard. But before we get into it, I'm not too sure if you're aware, but I do have other alternate platforms that I have channels on. If you have a look in the description, you will find links to them all. With what's happening in America at the minute, I'm not too sure how long YouTube will be viable as a platform. So I would really appreciate if you could head over to my Rumble account and my brand new Tube account, just in case the sword of Damocles takes me head off on YouTube. So at least we can keep in contact, is what I'm thinking. Also, come and join the Discord community. Come and talk away from YouTube. Everybody's more than welcome. Same again, you'll find the link in the description. But anyway, let's have a look at this actual article. This is an article in The Scotsman. It's titled, Scotland could skip referendum and follow Irish route to independence, says Joanna Cherry. Scotland could follow the Irish route to independence, according to a senior nationalist MSP, small n, who says a referendum is not the only way to leave the union with England. Joanna Cherry made it clear she would not wish to replicate the violence that preceded the creation of the Irish Republic just over a century ago. So what she's actually referring to is the 1916 Easter Rising, which resulted in 485 people killed. 260 were civilians, 143 British military and police, and 82 Irish rebels. This includes also 20 years of economic downturn and a lot of strife and misery. So to even equate it to that is absolutely disgusting in my opinion, and shows how little information and knowledge the SNP actually have. This is a disgrace. But let's continue. But the Edinburgh South West MP says in an article for the national newspaper on Friday, the Republic was established after a majority of pro-nationalist MPs were returned in the Irish election of 1918 and suggested this could be the template of Plan B for Scottish independence. Plan B. Are you listening to this, Scotland? Now, at this point, I would like to also point out that 35% of Scottish people voted for the SNP. Now, haven't the SNP been saying for a long time that we're forcing leaving the EU on the Scottish, and therefore it's disgraceful and they should get another independence referendum because of it? Well, what she's actually saying here is we would actually go down the violence route and force 65% of Scottish population that don't want to leave, that didn't vote for the SNP. She wants to force them into a civil war scenario. Now, I'm not being funny or anything, but that is absolute insanity. Her suggestion comes ahead of a major SNP assembly later this month to discuss the tactics for achieving independence. Although the party's justice spokeswoman at Westminster says a legally binding referendum would be the favoured way to achieve independence, Prime Minister Boris Johnson has so far ruled this out. I would also like to point out at this point, it's sounding very, what would the left call this sort of attitude? Trumpian. Is it not? Am I wrong? It is foolish and dangerous to rail against having a plan to do things differently should it be required, Miss Cherry says in an article for The National. The MP says it is patently not true that a referendum is the only way to bring about independence. Independence, this is what you want, independence, is it? You've got nothing to do with trying to get back in the EU at all, no, it's just independence you want. Liar. 100 years ago, Irish independence came about not as a result of a referendum, no, as a result of bloodshed. That's why it came about, but as a result of treaty negotiated between Irish parliamentarians and the British government after nationalist MPs had won the majority of seats in the 1918 general election and withdrawn to form a provisional government in Dublin, she had. No, it came after years of economic downturn, occupation and bloodshed. See what I mean about ignorance, arrogance? This woman is calling for something that Scottish people as a whole, the majority, do not want. Yeah, it's fine for her, but it's not fine for anyone else to do the same thing. You see why it's so hypocritical, this? Well, no one wants to replicate the violence. Yeah, of course you do. That's what it sounds like. If you don't give us independence, we're going to. That preceded those negotiations, the treaty is in legal and constitutional terms a clear precedent, which shows that a constituent part of the UK can leave and become independent by a process of negotiation after a majority of pro-independence MPs win an election in that constituent part. Polls show the SNP is on course for a landslide victory in May's Holyrood election, which could even see the party return to a majority of MSPs. The polls are trash, and I would actually suggest to all unionists to make sure that doesn't happen. You are the majority, not these SNPs. 35% voted for them. That tells me that you can double what they can get. I would suggest you start thinking about it, because let's be honest, these people want to get back in the EU, and the EU currently have just signed a deal with China, who are currently bragging about the Uyghur Muslim females being sterilised in a concentration camp. This is the people you want to throw your hook in with. Absolutely disgraceful. Similar to the outcome of the 2011 Scottish election that prompted the UK government to agree a referendum on independence in 2014, which was a once-in-a-lifetime deal, and you lost, didn't you? But still, you want to slam everything on top of an indie ref without any sort of knowledge about the future or any of that. You don't even know if the EU will accept you, and yet you want independence to go and beg the EU for their handouts, because that's what you'll be doing. Well, let me tell you, the EU won't want a Greece Mark II, will they? But the Constitution in the UK is reserved to Westminster, and Mr Johnson has ruled out agreeing to a repeat of the 2014 vote, which was touted as a once-in-a-lifetime deal from your side as well as our side. But now it's not a once-in-a-lifetime, it's a once-in-a-every time we want you to redo it because you didn't get the result you wanted the first time. At this point, I have actually come up with a couple of ways to stop all this. First one, are we ready for this, SNP? If you get an independence referendum again, the English, Welsh and Northern Irish should have a vote as well. We get to vote whether you get to stay or not. That's a good one. Or, here's another good one. We'll give you another independence referendum, even though it was supposed to be once in a lifetime. And if you lose your devolved parliament. Simple, isn't it? An SNP virtual assembly is to take place on January the 24th, which will discuss the tactics and strategy on the route from here to Independence Day. The Scottish Government has been demanding the right to hold another referendum on independence in the aftermath of the Brexit vote in 2016. They just bolted that on because they lost the independence. They thought, we'll just bolt Brexit on as well, because you didn't want to leave the EU, which is fair enough, it's entirely up to yourselves, but you voted as part of the UK, and as an overall part of the UK, you lost. As in all of the other Ramonas, they lost as well, and they're all still screaming the same things as you, even though they lost, while screaming about democracy. Democracy! We want democracy, even though we've just ignored your democracy. Okay, SNP, you want to be careful what you wish for, you know, which saw 2/3 of Scots opt to remain in the EU, but the weight of votes south of the border swung in the outcome in favour of leave. That's an absolutely disgraceful way of saying things, but the weight of votes south of the border swung the outcome in the favour of leave is a divisive sentence. Let me just re-say that for you. As a whole, the UK voted to leave. It's not a case of south of the border, you divisive git, as you were part of the UK and are still part of the UK. We vote as a whole. One man, one vote. But Miss Cherry's comments were branded irresponsible by Pamela Nash, Chief Executive of Scotland in Union. The comparison with what happened in Ireland over 100 years ago is insulting, Miss Nash added. Ignoring the views of the people of Scotland leaving the UK by the back door would be a democratic outrage. Yeah, well, SNP don't care about democracy if it's benefiting them. They'll destroy democracy all day long so long as it benefits them, in my honest opinion. The SNP should drop its obsession with how to divide our nation and work on bringing people together to rebuild our economy and public services. Not a bad comment, that, in my opinion. Now, what is my opinion on this? This is absolutely disgraceful. This is effectively the Scottish, who are supposed to be our friends and part of our union, still, whether they like it or not, calling for violence. Because that's what the 1916 uprising was. It was a bloody uprising. Civil war. Also, isn't incitement classed as hate speech in Scotland, according to the SNP? I think it is, isn't it? I would actually suggest at this point, all of you Scottish that didn't vote for these idiots, now is the time to unite. Find a party or somebody that you can get behind and all get behind them. Stop splitting your vote and letting these absolute nut jobs, because that's what they are if they're calling for civil war, especially against a nation that has so many more people in it than you. It's ridiculous, and it will cause a lot of issues, in my opinion. So stop splitting your vote, Scottish. You know me, I really do like the Scottish, and I really do think that these people are going to send you into dark times. I really do. Now is the time to get rid of them, and you do that by uniting as one, in my honest opinion. But let me know what you think, everyone. I'd like to know your opinion. Do you think this is just irresponsible Trumpism, as the left would have called it? Because I think it is. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell icon, share it out, everyone. This is ridiculous. Stay sane, stay safe if you're in Scotland. Start uniting against this, otherwise it's going to be too late for you. And I'll see you on the next one.